Hi everyone, my name's Caroline from Fourth Horizons and I'd like to share a little story with you today about a time when I had a 9 to 5 job, and in this particular job I was feeling quite demotivated, feeling quite stressed, wasn't really enjoying my job anymore, and I went out for my usual lunch break. Had a few things to get, so I went to the shops, but I was kind of regurgitating how I sort of like lost the love of my job and I just wasn't really feeling as motivated as I was. I'm feeling quite stressed, and so I went out and got my usual bits, and then as I was kind of walking back, it was a bit like, oh god, you know, I've got to go back to the office. So off I went back towards my walk home, and then suddenly whack, took a tumble, tripped, fell on my soy milk went everywhere, splattered all over the place, on me, on the pavement, right outside a busy restaurant. And some poor guy came out who was clearly probably as embarrassed as I was for me, I think. In his sympathy, he took his hand out to me and peeled me back up off the floor, brushed myself down, and gathered the remnants of my shopping and sort of like hobbled back to the office. And that's a really good example of how emotion affects the body. When we're thinking negatively, when we're feeling certain negative emotions, those emotions are in our neurology and they play out into our physical. So whatever we think about, we are getting physically as well. So when we're feeling in a positive state and we're feeling happy, the body is strong. We're feeling grounded. We're feeling like everything just kind of works out. You know, things go our way. Everything is good because we're feeling that in our body and we're playing out that role. When we're feeling negative, when we're feeling sad, frustrated, bored, it affects the body. The body is in a weaker state, and therefore typical things like tripping, falling, clumsiness, you know, maybe you've had one of those days where everything's just kind of gone wrong, or even one of those weeks, you know, like you hear about these people where just like one thing happens to them after another, and it's all mindset, but the mind does play through into the body. Emotion is like energy, so emotion is meant to move through the body and out, and often what happens is that energy gets stuck, that emotion gets stuck. As human beings, we're taught to suppress our emotions, often from an early age. You know, food is given to us to stop us from crying, or you know, you're on the train and mum's embarrassed, she's like stuffing things into your mouth, or you know, just as humans, but also from an early age, you know, we are taught to keep our emotions inside. And unfortunately, what happens is when we suppress a lot of emotion is then a secondary problem can be created, such as depression, anxiety, outbursts of anger. You know, those are kind of like typical examples of suppressed emotion. At worst, it can go into illness, it can go into disease. You know, I'm a firm believer of pain in the body is very much connected to the mind. And science is really catching up with that now. So if you have had those moments where you've had one of those clumsy days, really think about, what was I thinking about at that time? You know, when I tripped over or fell, try and sort of backtrack through your thoughts. Often it could be that you were thinking about a conversation that you had with a work colleague that really annoyed you, or maybe you are like going over a conversation you have with a friend and you said something, or maybe in an argument, you know, maybe you were kind of going over an argument you have with someone and you think, oh god, I wish I'd said that, or just thinking about the argument itself. Those negative thoughts and feelings are going through the body into the physical. So I just wanted to give you a few tips really on how you can work through releasing some of this emotion, because it's no good keeping the emotion in. It's just going to be, you know, it's a bit like a bucket that you fill with water, put a tight lid on it, and then, you know, the water's filling the bucket up and suddenly the bucket bursts. There's nowhere for that water to go, and emotion is the same thing. It needs to be released, it needs to come out. So if you are in that place at the moment, and you're having those negative thoughts, or constantly thinking and going through negative things, think about how you can really work on changing that and reframing your mind. So just a few tips. Release as much as you can. If you've got someone that you can talk to, don't be afraid to open your feelings up and share things with people. Don't be afraid to kind of speak your truth. You know, a lot of clients that I get talk to me about problems with their throat closing up or their throat getting tight. You know, I used to get terrible throat problems when I was younger. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't say how I was feeling in certain situations. I lacked confidence, and so all of the stuff was happening in the throat. So if you get that in your throat, what is it that you want to say to someone? What is it that you haven't said that you wish you'd said? Who are you angry at? You know, what are you angry about? What are you annoyed about? Who are you annoyed at? There's an exercise that I'm going to share a link actually on the YouTube clip at the end of this video called Physical Signs of Stress and How to Begin Self-Healing, and there's an exercise in there that you can do that incorporates some of those things I've just talked about. So make sure you talk, make sure you write, don't be afraid to express yourself. Affirmations, I'm a massive fan of those. You probably read about them everywhere, but you know, they are a very, very powerful way for reprogramming the mind, for reprogramming those thoughts. If you're having consistent negative thoughts and having clumsy times and losing your footing, what is it that you need to change in your thinking so that's going to impact the body? Affirmations are a great way of reprogramming thoughts, of switching something that's negative to the positive. If it's something like, you know, people don't have time for me, you know, I'm not worthy enough, or I am not good enough, you know, I am worthy, I am good enough, I deserve people's time. Really get into that state, because all the time you're thinking about those thoughts, those positive thoughts, they're coming through in your body, into your physical. So you're going to have a better day, the more positive you're thinking. So great tip there. So look at reframing, and also look at the exercise that I'm going to put the link to in a minute, and that is Physical Signs of Stress and How to Begin Self-Healing. There's an exercise in there that you can do to really kind of get it all out. So I hope this has been useful. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. If you want to ask me something, if you want to say anything, or you just want to have a chat about, you know, what some tips or something like that, just let me know, and then I'm happy to have a chat. So my website is www.fourthhorizons.com, and my email is caroline@fourthhorizons.com. So have a great day, and thanks very much for listening. Ciao.